Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, I'm your host, Mrs. M. And if you haven't, make sure you click the link below. That way you can subscribe to my channel and not miss out on anything you need to scale your business to six figures and beyond. Oh, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Today I am going to walk you through what I did to win millions of dollars. That's right, millions. But we're going to first start with the six figures. So, first, I wanted to make sure that I was able to sustain myself, leave my 9 to 5. And I actually was doing a accounting job that was actually my background in it. So I'm working in accounting, and I knew that I wanted to do something more where I was doing my own thing. I've always loved entrepreneurship. So in this video, I am going to actually share with you some of my secrets that really helped me to scale faster and quicker than I ever imagined. So if you implement even a couple of these, you should be able to do the same thing if you have your mindset right. I always talk about mindset because that is the most important thing. The mindset of thinking like a six-figure CEO, and I would say six figures and beyond, because that helps you have a focused, and it helps you know what's your end game. I have a lot of people ask me, what was my end game? My end game was to get to seven figures. That's what it was. I started at six figures, but my end game was to get to seven figures. And the seven figures allowed me to have two things. I had financial and freedom. I had the financial freedom. Those are the two things. So I always look at it as we want to call it, like if you look at being on a roadmap to be a millionaire or six figures, or if you want five figures, whatever it is, I'm going to share with you what I did. But I was focused on knowing what my end game was, because how do you know you've gotten there if you don't know where you're trying to go? So the first thing you want to do, of course, is go to obtain your NAICS code. So we're just going to, for illustration purposes, we're going to go with the NAICS code 561210. I love that one because it encompasses so much. Then the next thing, because I'm going to focus in, what do you do without having to bid? That's what I focus on all the time. And specifically looking to win bids between 2 weeks and 90 days, where the average person is winning bids within 3 years. Lots of people have cage codes, have their UEI, the whole nine, but they haven't won one bid. So now I'm going to focus today. I'm only going to look at federal today and looking at what we need to do to win a no bid. How do we make that happen? And specifically in a short period of time. So let me go to the actual screen. The first screen we're going to look at is sam.gov. So I'm going to go to sam.gov. And then I am going to take you to contract opportunities. Then we're going to go to advanced search. And I'm going to look for something that is one of my favorite. And that is going to be looking for a specific thing. Not looking for an RFP, request for proposal. I'm not looking for a request for quote. I always tell my students, when I am looking to win a contract, which is what we're looking to do, not talking the talk, but getting to do the walk the walk. So when I'm looking to win a contract, I am not going to try to compete when I just get started with an RFQ and RFP. I'm going to look for sources sought. That's one of my favorite ones. So I'm going to go to type of notice, simply come here, and then I'm going to see sources sought. Now, when I do that, every sources sought there is there. Anything you're doing, the first thing is you have to know what is the purpose. So the purpose of this is to look for sources sought, which is neither a request for quote or a request for proposal. It is looking for a source. These contracting officers are putting feelers out there in hopes that you know enough about what your scope of work would be, how you could do it, in order to respond. Now, this is the first thing I did to win a bid when I wasn't working as a sub. If you need money right now and you're listening to me and you don't know how you're going to pay that car note, how you're going to pay that mortgage, and whatever else you need to pay, then the very first thing I would look at is being a subcontractor, hands down. End of story. Now, if after I've done a little subbing, or I have a little more wiggle room because I'm not pressed where I have to find something right away. Remember, my focus is 2 weeks to 90 days. Then my next step is going to be to come to sam.gov. There are a lot of sites that you can pay, but we're going to make it simple for people that may not have the money or the means to be able to find a paid site. Sam.gov, I'm going to look for sources sought. Once I look for sources sought and it brings up everything, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in my NAICS code. So I'm going to put in 561210, which is Facility Support Services. Now you can narrow it down a little bit more if you want to put in your PSC code, which is the product and service code. And for this, I think it's like 261, but we'll leave it open for here. So no, you can narrow it down to the product and service code, which might make it even more defined. But for illustration purposes, we're going to look at what we have here. So I see a couple of things that are sources sought. And the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to look at clicking on to one of them. So we'll just take a look at here. Now, once I come here, I'm going to gather the information. I'll find out a lot more, look and see what is the command, the Department of Army, very important to me. So the command, the major command is NCB. Now, why is that important to me? And as I keep going on, I know that the next thing I need to look at is this is going to be November 25th. And it is what I'm looking for, facility support services. And then I'm looking at the next thing where it says this is for sources sought. Now it goes in and it gives you some more information. And it says right here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come here and I am going to copy and paste this information. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to copy and paste it. It tells me that you must respond to the sources sought no later than the 19th of October. So this one is, of course, passed by now, but this is a great example of looking at something and knowing that I would then continue on. But we're going to go ahead and use this one as if we're going to answer it since we're here. Then what would I do? It says that my capability statement cannot exceed 12 pages. It's going to give me all the information, everything I need. So I'm going to put in all that information by simply copying it. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to copy all of what they're looking for. And then I'm going to put this on a Word document. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to simply follow it step by step. I'm going to put in what they need, what they're asking for, talk about having my capability statement should demonstrate the firm's understanding of the requirements and addressing the following at a minimum. So I'm going to look at a brief description of my business, my structure. I'm going to make sure that I, like match it. And that's the key. My capability statement is going to really, really match what they're looking for. I'm going to make sure that I put down that I've done subcontracting information, talk about a couple of projects I've done. All of this I'm going to put together. Now, what is my CTA? Your CTA, no matter what you're doing, you want to have a CTA. Well, it's CTA, call to action. So my CTA is to end up actually getting a capability briefing. I want to sit down with them so they can see me, hear me, begin to really, really, really know me and like me. And that's towards the movement of closing the deal without having to bid. So my goal is to end up with a capability briefing by simply copying, paste all this information, responding as if it were due when, let's say it was saying November the 19th. I'm going to download all the attachments, everything it needs. I've got the contact information of everything I'm looking for. I can follow the history, everything. Now, I noticed in the beginning that it said something about that they need the responses by November, or they updated it. So it looks like the original response date was October the 19th, but they've updated the inactive date. So they updated it till November 25th, 2023. So I next want to look at what am I going to put on the sources sought? That's the key. And what I'm looking at putting on the sources sought, I have right here. So I've already created a template that is going to address the sources sought, and that's here. Now I'm going to have this on letterhead. I'm going to have it, this is a sample introduction letter. Now what I really want you to pay attention to is where I talk about my signature statement. And in my signature statement, I give 3 examples of what I need to provide so that they stop and pause. And this goes along and complements my capability statement. Now you should have 3 types of capability statements. One that's specific, like today. When I am providing this, my capability statement is going to be very specific. The next thing is I'm going to have three. So one is going to be real specific to what I'm doing now. I'm sending out a sources sought. The command is the Army. They're asking for specific things. My capability statement is going to be specific for that particular illustration I'm going to demonstrate by sending that to them. The second type of capability statement is going to be generic, that I'm giving out when I'm at an industry day or something like that, an event for government. The third is going to be real specific to a solicitation. So let's say I win this sources sought, which happened a lot. This is how I actually won a lot of business by doing sources sought. And the way it looks is like this. When a contracting officer puts out a sources sought, they're putting out a feeler. If you answer correctly, what happened to me and happens to a lot of our students and people, I'm quite sure you may have even had this happen to you. The next step is they then move on to contact you, reach out to you. They may go to your DSBS profile. I heard a lot of people are having problems with that. I have a tutorial that walks you through that as well. So the next thing is they will reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to have a capability briefing. At this time, you have a PowerPoint presentation that complements your capability statement in the introduction letter that I sent to them, introducing, which was my sources sought. I made sure all the requirements were there, and I sent my capability statement in this as well. So you're going to follow it step by step by step on what they're looking for. Once you've put everything together by just simply looking at, like we did here, looking at the sources sought, looking at what they're looking for, what they need, what they're not interested in, they're very specific. So once I looked at the description, I made sure that I could do the statement of work, making sure I could do all that. Then I'm going to, and they even ask for a rough pricing estimate pertaining to the estimated total cost of what you're looking for. So I've got all that together. Now, yes, there are some simpler sources sought. Continue to go through them until you find one that's only asking for this basic information. They may only want the basic, but at a minimum, I'm always going to send my capability statement that is going to complement whatever I'm looking to work with when it comes to the sources sought. I did about 10 to 15 sources sought a week. This is how I was able to get past the contracting when I was doing the subcontracting. This is where I landed my micro purchases where they were under 10,000, working for the embassy that I did in Washington, D.C. That was my first take. I had my micro purchase setup where I had my actual merchant account. Remember, I've talked about merchant account, setting it up with your bank so that you can accept the government credit card. So I did the P card first with that. Once I got paid for that, then I started moving on and doing the sources sought. After I started doing the sources sought, then I graduated to request for quotes because now I had some past performances under my belt. The last thing I went to was request for proposal. That's the order that I went in. This order, I didn't have to do any bidding. I loved it. That's what I focus on when you first get started. Try not to go for a request for quote or request for proposal. You may not be ready for that. Have a template ready for sources sought. Have one ready. Have your introduction. What I teach, where I go into that, and we're not going to have time for this particular video, but where I go into a lot is where I'm showing you the differentiator. That is the moneymaker. Creating something that's going to differentiate you and have at least 3 bullet statements that are going to prove that fact with some figures. 51% of the industry doesn't do it the way I'm doing it. You want to have facts and figures. The government loves that. So that's something that I noticed when I was in the military, then when I was a little GS grade for a while. And since I've been doing government contracting for over 25 years, this is something else that I know. So focus on that. Look at your introduction letter. Like I pretty much showed you mine. The example that I used where I talked about my name, I am your name, CEO, your company. We're a small business that specializes in providing our delivery setup, cleaning and pickup, DSCSP, our signature system. And I went into, we provide up to 50% increased speed, blah, blah, blah. That's what you want to look at. So this is something that I actually share. Now, another thing that I do that really, really helped was I then went and joined the Chamber of Commerce. And when I joined the Chamber of Commerce, I actually received this particular small business specialist program. The Office of Small Business Program, Special Business Program. So the Office of Small Business Programs, and this is where your small business specialists are the key to connecting. These are the connectors right here. Ozdaboo, and these are the connectors. So I then found the command that I was looking to do the sources sought, and I went one better. Once I found them on this over 1,000, that I had this list that I was able to, absolutely obtain from the Chamber of Commerce. I was able to put that together. Then I knew exactly how to set up my signature system. And I was able to come up with my differentiators that was specifically going to look as if I had customized it just for the program I was looking to work on. So the key, to recap, is to focus inward, not being scattered everywhere. You hear a lot of people winning, $30,000 contracts and $100,000 contracts, and everyone thinks it's so simple. Not as easy as some people may think. It does require you to focus in, look at three main things. What is it that I'm going to offer? What's my next code? Then I need to narrow down by going on to usaspending.gov, who's buying it. Then this is where I start to create my vehicle, how I'm going to win. And I focus on what's my differentiator. And then I look at who is the Office of Small Business Programs and who is the small business specialist. Then I've got their phone numbers, their email addresses, but I am not about to email or phone anyone until I've gotten the three things that's going to make my company stand out. I know that's a lot of information, but that's exactly what I did again and again and again. Then I start looking at building the relationships with contracting officers, because I was able to find a connector that was able to connect me, and I could find out as much as I could through these small business specialists who would help me once I knew exactly what I was doing. Now, they're not there to just, hold your hand. They're there once you've kind of figured out a couple of things. And the one thing that I had to figure out and that I made sure I spent a lot of time on was my differentiator. You will not hear me talk about that enough. That is the moneymaker. Ching, ching. That's how I was able to scale my business to what? 6 figures and beyond. Pow. And then I went on further. So this is something not that I've heard, not that I read. This is something that I did repeatedly. And I was able to scale, positioning my company over and over and over. Now, if you'd like to know more, then I'd love to invite you to my Crack the Gov code, which is going to be the masterclass. I go into this in great detail and more. I share with you exactly what you need to start right now winning a contract within 2 weeks to 90 days. I focus on that specifically in the no bidding, specifically talking about setting up that signature system that makes that contracting officer say, what? I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to them now. So I go right in, like I tell people, I don't do a lot of the fluff. I go straight in because time is of the essence. So we're going right into what do you need to do? How do you need to do it? And why you need to do it? Because the why is what sticks. Why do I need to do all of this? And this is something I'll share with you. So if you'd like to know more, then make sure you click the link. It's going to be November the 14th, 15th, and 16th, only for 3 days. Now, you can attend November 14th or November 15th or November 16th. And I made sure that I put one on there where you could attend at 7 p.m., which is November the 15th. Like I said, I'm going to share with you how to get in touch with the Office of Small Business Programs, who they are, how do you find the command? There's over 1,000 of them. How to set up your introduction letter, and how to craft your capability statement so that it makes sense. We want to make this make sense. So we're not scattered everywhere thinking that we can win a $250,000 contract and then we win one. It usually takes a lot more than what you might think. And so we want to make sure you know what that lot more is. Not that it is, I always say the government is not like something that's a secret, but it is a step-by-step process. And it's sort of like a puzzle. If you fill the puzzle pieces in and work in, you'd be surprised how much ground you make up doing the market research, understanding what you need. So start with the sources sought. I'd love to see you at the Crack the Gov Code Masterclass. It's absolutely free. I'll take my time and go through a lot with you. My goal is to give you more in this free than most people charge for their course. So I look forward to seeing you. Click the link. And until next time, I want to make sure that you are learning, being safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.